It's going?
It's going.
All right, there's a few more things I want to touch on, but as you can see, my life's falling apart. Not trying to look sexy here, y'all. You guys saw my last video on the Godox AD400 Pro. I mentioned that the Godox AD1200 Pro is a lot better for commercial work. Usually on commercial work, you're shooting multiple models. And when you do that, usually at f8, if you think you need to shoot wide open for that, a model's gonna be blurry, clothes are gonna be blurry, the client's not gonna rehire you again. So f8 is very important. You wanna use bigger modifiers to get a bigger spread. In order to use bigger modifiers, you need more power. So I just kinda wanna show you guys what the difference is between the AD1200 Pro and the 400 Pro. 400 Pro is really badass for like ND, run and gun, single model shooting. Speaking of, Samuel. He's single, ladies. He's Australian.
I'm Australian.
So the dope thing with the Godox AD400 Pro, this is all you have. This is the 400 Pro. This is all that there is with this. Downside, this has fallen multiple times, so your whole unit is gonna break if it falls too hard. The plus size is, you can just lift this up and take it wherever. It's very easy to use. With the 1200 Pro, we have two pieces. This is Chris's Savage C-stand. Pretty badass because it has these like multiple stands where you can put a diffuser. It's a little bit more better for like if you're running continuous lighting. So let's just ignore that this badass stand has an extra piece. So the downside with the 1200 Pro is we have two pieces. So if you're using an assistant, this is pretty like cool because they could just simply throw this up and they could just move this. Now, if you're shooting by yourself, this is very cumbersome and it might get in your way a little bit. So both of these flashes will work with HSS, the Canon R5. You can use that if you're in a pinch, but I'd rather use the ND because you get a little bit more power out of your flash. When you use HSS, your flashes are putting multiple bursts to keep up with the shutter curtain. And so you're kind of losing a little bit of power there. So if you're using ND, you get more power out of your flash, but you also get more battery life out of your flash. Also, you'll see, as I move my camera around, the exposure changes automatically. This is the most annoying thing about the Canon R5. There's no way to overpass that to show you the true exposure. So if you want to see the true exposure, you can either snap the trigger off or you could pay attention to your histogram. So the histogram, a lot of people think that's just for video. I keep my histogram on for photos as well because of the Canon R5. It's not good to overexpose it because it's not good with highlights, but it's amazing for shadow recovery. You see our histogram, when we put it to the sky, you can see it dip down there. So that's what I'm exposing for. This probably isn't the best time of day to do this example because the lights are very soft. We lost too much light, so this is turning out to be a fucking horrible example because honestly, a speed light would be able to light this properly. So we're gonna cut to another day. So as you guys can see, we're at ISO 100, f13 at 1/200th of a second at a shutter. If we look at our histogram, you see we're perfectly exposed, but from the preview, a lot of people might think that this is underexposed. Now, I personally don't want to shoot at f13. I would probably want to shoot around f8, like from f5.6 to f8. The view is pretty cool here, so I'll probably do it at 7.1, but you can see our exposure is too bright now. And so we would have to go either to high-speed sync or we have to get an ND filter. So I will go through the ND filters real quick, but the trigger's on me on, so let me turn on the trigger and show you what happens. So you see, once you turn the trigger on, all of a sudden our preview goes away. Like our preview is not accurate anymore. The flash is pretty much hiding what is going on with our exposure. And so again, this is why your histogram is very, very, very important. All right, well, hopefully I'm in focus and in frame. I forgot my top handle and any monitor mount, so I'm just messing up all day today. So the first option are these 4x4 hard NDs. This system is by Nissi. I have it in a different bag, don't be fooled. So this system's cool because if you have like 82mm adapter rings on all your lenses, you can just slap this on each lens and you don't have to put on multiple filters. Now, if I'm doing a slower pace shoot, I will use this just because the glass is so like high quality that's not gonna affect my image. Now, if I'm doing run and gun shoots, I'll show you what I use for that. My freewheel filters, and I have my variable ND filter. There's some more stuff in here that I will talk about. I have their magnetic hard NDs. These are great for video, but they're also great for photography. I actually use these a lot more for photography because I like running matte boxes on my cameras just to help control light. So, but yeah, I'm gonna slap this on. I'm just gonna use this today because I just don't want to waste too much time on the other stuff right now. The wind's picking up, Blav mic thing died. So I'm recording through my phone while also trying to control the Canon R5 through the phone. This turned to a major nightmare, but I am pushing through. Someone commented on my last video, my review of the Godox light, saying I'm becoming more of a YouTuber, and once that happens, they're gone. I'm not getting paid for this video. I might make like, what, $2, $3 off this video? All in the name of passion. So our exposure's decent. Our background's a little hot, so I'm going to lower my shutter speed down. Now, if I was doing a proper shoot and the process a little bit slowed down, I would not be shooting it like this. I would have a light meter. I'd be controlling my light ratios and everything. This is just like a dumbed down way of getting good shots. So we're at 1/60th of a second at f8, ISO 100. So let's take a test shot right here. So that looks great, but also look how close I am to the light. If you're trying to shoot 3 to 5 models all together, there's one model, second model, third model. There's gonna be a lot to spread across everyone in hard light like this. Just stand back here. That's a decent exposure, but I'm underexposed a little bit. Now in Photoshop, I can make that work easily, but also you can see the lights in there and everything. It's a shit show, honestly. This is just for example. The Godox AD400 is at full power right now. The downside to that is this battery is gonna drain super freaking fast, especially when you're working with a bunch of models. You have to be triggering off like crazy. And then the recycle time slow down because you're at max power. So when you bring in the Godox AD1200, recycle times are faster and you won't have to shoot at full power most likely. All right, so this is the bag that the 1200 comes in. You can see it's very hefty. So this is the case that my Godox AD400 comes in. And this is pretty much it. This flash is perfect if you're just shooting a single model. But again, when it comes to if you're doing like, maybe I always forget, you know, there's people that shoot like families and other groups for other things. I actually think there's a storm rolling through. Do, 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 do. All right. Not trying to look sexy here, y'all. So you can see right off the bat, this thing has a lot more punch. I'm gonna go back here again, pretend I am multiple models. Pretty much how the AD400 looked with me around this distance looks the same from me like 3 or 4 feet further away on the Godox AD1200. So you can just see if you're working again with multiple models or you're trying to get more full body stuff. I know a lot of people like to use larger modifiers because they think it gets you softer and softer light, which it does from the further away you get from your subject, but there's ways to cheat it with a smaller modifier. If this is a necessity for you, a larger modifier, this is the point behind getting a Godox AD1200 Pro. Mainly just when you're shooting outdoors, like on location, you're doing environmental kind of portraits and stuff. The 1200, it's like a beast. I think this is gonna be like my next buy. I think for the direction my career is going, I'm doing more and more commercial campaign type work. This is pretty important to have. So yeah, guys, that's it. There's a few more things I want to touch on, but as you can see, my life's falling apart, so I gotta go. Peace. All right, y'all, so I'm on the Moment anamorphic lens right now. It's pretty cool. I'm kind of miserable right now because this is a lot of shit to try to do on my own, but got the Komodo. I'm shooting anamorphic because 1, it's awesome. 2, I forgot a regular lens. So I'm gonna be using this soft lighter. It's by Newer, but it's pretty much just like the brand soft lighter. This is gonna be a good representation of what the Godox AD400 can do versus the 1200 with this modifier. This is a good modifier if you're shooting like 2 to 3 models or even just solo model and try to go full body.